Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy AJTRIP. Welcome to the Word According to Me. We're going to be talking about the Arrowverse and what happened to it. Because let's face it, guys, the Arrowverse has not been the same for a few years now. While the shows are still watchable and somewhat interesting, it's not like it was before. It's not like it was a couple years ago when you had the Legends of Tomorrow, and you had Arrow, and you had Supergirl, and you had in Flash. The apex of the Arrowverse, I believe, is when you had those four. You had those four shows, right? And you had those four shows, and you had them. I believe it was almost on every night, right? Because you had, I think Monday was Supergirl, Tuesday was The Flash, Wednesday was Arrow, and Thursday was DC Legends, or maybe even DC. The Legends was on Tuesday after The Flash, or something like that. I cannot remember, but that was the apex, and that was also when there was the crossover was the Planet X, Crisis on Planet X, or whatever it was. When the Nazis came to America, to the Earth. So that was the apex, but ever since then, it's almost kind of gone downhill. Kind of crazy things, people leaving shows ending, like Arrow, Supergirl ending this year. And even though they've given us Superman and Lois, which I think is a pretty darn good show for right now. This first season has been relatively good. I haven't watched Legends yet. I haven't watched Legends yet because I need to. Just because it's on Sunday, and Sunday's always been it's just I had other things watching on Sunday, so I've got it on my DVR, so I got to catch up with that. And I still haven't watched the DC Stargirl from past yet. So, but that's on another Earth again. So they're still putting shows on another Earth for some reason. I don't know what that's about. So yeah, I mean, it seems like the Arrowverse is just crumbling before our eyes, and that hurts. Because I go back just those couple years ago to that, that amazing crossover, which was so good. It was so good, and to have everybody there, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's what my my thumbnail is. It's the picture of the one of the final battles when what's his face, Doctor, when he is killed, and Firestorm is no more, and they go to almost quote unquote avenge his death. So it's it's crazy, man. So and the fact that it's just been like, again, and I want to make sure I'm saying this. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not. I'm just not saying it's not as good as it is right now, as it was in the past. And again, I think that and maybe we can also put it this, that what has happened the last 16 months. Excuse me. we've been in a pandemic, right? So maybe all of these shows are doing things just to put shows out there because they have to. And so the pandemic, and doing that in the pandemic has just been, it's been unreal, you know. So and they're just putting out, you know, stuff just to get to their contracts, so to speak, and that could be it. It could also not be it, but I gotta be honest with you guys. I do miss that time a couple years ago when all the shows were kicking in on a thing. They were on a just rolling all the shows. So I think really quickly I'm gonna go through all of the shows and try to figure out, what went wrong and things like that. So I think when it comes down to it, all the shows except for one they have been pretty good shows, right? They've been pretty good shows, but there's always been a flaw in some of the things and which direction they turned and the turn they took. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about some of these shows. So let's talk about the worst of the Arrowverse show, and that would be Black Lightning. Black Lightning originally was not. It was, even though it was made by the creators of the Arrowverse, I don't think it was originally supposed to be a part of the Arrowverse. And it was, it was a black superhero, and I think they were trying to, get some of the stuff off of the. They were trying to gum off some of the stuff that Black Panther had gave fans. So they were, they were doing this. But I think the one thing they were missing from Black Panther than it was Black Lightning is that I don't know. I think you had to be a real hardcore fan to know who Black Lightning was. You didn't know who Black Panther was. And so that was a totally different thing, and also I think the story they were telling was just, with Black Lightning, you was always waiting for something else to happen. You were waiting for the kids to come up with their powers. You were waiting for the wife or girlfriend or whatever. You were waiting for her to do something else, and it just never happened. And it was just it was not a good thing. I was very happy. I was very happy that he was involved in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I was very happy about that. I think it would have been wrong to keep him off of that, especially that he was supposed to be on another Earth. So I think it was very wrong for him to do that. I think I think that he would. I hope he would have the opportunity to. The Black Lightning is ending as well, and I hope he would have the opportunity to come back, Chris Williams, and be a part of any other kind of crossovers and things like that. I think. Listen, I would think that obviously we couldn't do this last year or this year, but I would think that maybe at some point you will get another crossover, at some point between the shows, one last one at the very least, and then people like the Supergirl, the two people from the Supergirl cast, Supergirl and Martian Manhunter would come back. Chris Williams would come back as Black Lightning. We see John Diggle is going to be on some shows. crossing over on some shows. He just crossed over with Batwoman. He's supposed to be on every show. He's supposed to be on Legends, Flash, Batwoman, and then Superman and Lois. And Superman and Lois had a preview for. They're taking a little break. They're going to be back July 13th, and he's going to be on, I guess, on that show. So, and at some point he will become the Green Lantern. But I think that there just, unlike Black Panther, there just wasn't a connection with the audience, and I think that's one of the reasons why maybe it had low ratings. I think that's one of the reasons why it's going off. So, but it was fun while it lasted, and it was good to see a black superhero, and they're doing this thing with Batwoman now. So, and they might, and who knows, maybe John Diggle will get that Green Lantern, something like that. So all of this, inclusion and everything like that they're trying to do with these shows, it can still happen. Next is Batwoman. Batwoman came in a couple years ago. Last year, probably be exact, right? And it was starring Ruby Rose, someone who everybody was very fond of, and very thought of. She's a gay icon. She is part of the LGBT community. So people was very happy to have her. She's a apparently a good actor. She was in Orange Is the New Black. I never watched that because it was on Netflix. I don't have Netflix, so. But we all heard about her. She was everybody's crush, male and female, right? So and she, I thought she was good, but unfortunately, the people online almost bullied her off the show, really, because they didn't like the way she portrayed, apparently they didn't like the way she portrayed Kate Kane, and they didn't like it, so, she couldn't deal with the people talking about her, so she left Batwoman, and that left Batwoman open, and they brought on this other woman again, a black woman, to be Batwoman, for the time being. They were looking for another person to play Kate Kane, and the story this year has been the fact of that they've been trying to do that story of Kate Kane and things like that. Now they've come back to the point to where, yes, the woman, there's a woman who kind of resembles Ruby. I want to say Ruby Riott. That's the wrestler. Ruby Rose, in a little bit, and so facially, she kind of resembles Ruby Riott, and she would resemble Kate Kane, and they're doing her memory loss storyline and things like that. And they're bringing in Batwing and things like that. So yeah, it's a and this is the second season. Again, we're talking about trying to do a season in the pandemic, not being able to do the things that you want to do, having your star leave after one season, and how are you going to do that? So a lot of things have been going on with the show. So well, it's an okay show and things like that. It's not been on the level of I would say the main four, So, but that doesn't mean that it can't get there. But the ratings have not been great from what I hear about Batwoman. He's been talking about some cancellations. I don't know if it has been canceled or not. It would not make sense to bring in Batwing if the show was going to be canceled. So again, I'm not sure of what's going down, but yeah, it is it is what it is. So that with Batwoman. But I'm hoping that this show can, as we open up and get better, so they can do what they want to. They can do stuff that maybe that they wanted to do. They can't do. They now found their actress to continue on as Kate Kane, and this show can continue to grow and maybe hopefully get back an audience and maybe become one of the best parts of the Arrowverse. So let's talk about the Legends. The Legends of tomorrow have they're probably the one show that has really taken, I think, a big tumble from their humble beginnings. Because I guess because they've lost everybody. It's Captain Cold and then they had like the Thanagarians. They had the Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they had the guy with the thing with who could shrink and get things like that. I forget what the guy played by Brandon Roos. I forget what the name was. They had him. They had again they had Firestorm. They had a lot. They had a lot of people, and they seem to have lost everybody. And now again, I have not watched this season. I need to catch up, but it only really seems like there's who's left is just it's the Steel guy, and it's Sarah, and Sarah seems to be in some otherworldly dimension or something like that, and then they've got the people who don't even have powers on the ship now, so no abilities or anything like that. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where. And again, this is another show that I don't know anything about their future. About are they going to be back next season? Are they not? Do they want to come back or anything like that? So it again is kind of up in the air. But again, I think this is a show that just was it was great. And it was great, and it was fun, and it unlike some of the other ones was a little more. It didn't take itself too seriously. Including the times when So I mentioned a couple years ago the Crisis on Earth X or something like that. It was a 4-show crossover. The next year it was only 3-show crossover. These the Legends didn't do, and they talked. They openly talked about it. We didn't do the crossover, and so they kind of made fun of themselves about that, about not not doing the crossover. So they have always been a little bit more on the self-deprecating side and things like that, and then of course they have that blue thing Zemo that they seem to bring back every year, and even we're talking about like the last crossover, the Crisis on Infinite Earth, on the DC Legends, so they started off with a big Zemo, they started off with that one. So it's always been that way, where it's just been a little bit more different than the other shows. But it's always been a fun show, an entertaining show, and a show that I've always enjoyed. But again, I will say that it has kind of gone down a little bit too because of I think it's mainly because of the characters that they have lost over time, and so that's kind of unfortunate. Next, we go with Supergirl. Supergirl was originally supposed to be on CBS, and it was going to be, and it was another show that was on another Earth. They did a Flash Supergirl crossover. But Flash ran so fast, he changed dimensions and went on another Earth, right? So they did that. And Supergirl was good. It was really, really good. It was from the start, and from overtime, it just gained steam, and it was great. Them introducing Superman, I think, was something that was unexpected. I expected them, to mention him and talk about him, but not to, bring him up. But they brought him up, and the guy they got to play Superman, I think, is a good Superman, and he's doing good work now on his show. He now has his show, which is kind of amazing. He was able to spin that off into his show. But it's always been a great show. And once again, they've lost characters too. Jimmy Olsen, gone. They lost Callista Flockhart because she was, she was obviously, she was playing Cat Grant. But she was being paid a whole lot of money, and she wasn't getting that. Now when they went from CBS to WB or CW, she wasn't playing. They couldn't pay her the money they needed to, so she left. But that was for other reasons. But this is actually more of a show. They didn't necessarily lose a lot of people. They almost gained a lot of people, right? They got Brainy, and then they added Dreamer. And then we've had Alex and Martian Manhunter there. The episode when Martian Manhunter came out. He came out as being the Martian Manhunter. I think that may be still one of my favorite episodes of Supergirl. It is incredible. It is powerful because of everything that was said. It goes with Alex, and and talking about her father and things like that. And it's such a great moment. I think it's one of my favorite episodes of Supergirl ever. It was so good. It was just so good that it was really, really. It was that is what really hooked me in with Supergirl, and it has been great. It has been great. I think I do think a couple years ago when they were doing the whole aliens thing, and where people were being, they were being bad to aliens, and they were trying to imitate the stuff that was here when what people were trying to do with Mexicans or Muslims or things like that. I think it was kind of heavy-handed. I will say that. I understand that they were trying to. They were trying to do. That's one of the things about these shows. These shows, all of these shows in this Arrowverse have tried on some level to be diverse and then be progressive and things like that. And the Dreamer chick is apparently, she's a trans woman. I'm not sure if that's who she really is in real life, but on the TV show, the Dreamer girl is a trans woman. Went from male to female. And they did a story about that too. I believe I don't know if it was the same year or not. But things where you're aliens and you are and it was heavy-handed, but it still was a good season. So I was okay with that. Them bringing in Lex Luthor, I thought it was a bad idea. I really did. I thought it was a bad idea because Lex is Superman's villain. It's not Supergirl. Supergirl's villain is not Lex Luthor. And so I haven't been a big fan of them bringing in Lex Luthor. Although John Cryer, who plays Lex Luthor, has been excellent at it. He's been great at it, and still Michael Rosenbaum is still always going to be my Lex Luthor, but John Cryer is number 2. But it's been a very interesting way they've gone about this, and the way they turned Lena back and forth, basically to babyface and turned heel, now she's back to babyface, has been interesting as well. So But I still think it's a good show. It is ending this year. I think for a couple of reasons. I think the biggest reason is I think Melissa, the star Melissa, wants to do other things. But again, I hope this is another case where she and maybe even some of the other people will be able to guest star on other shows. And I believe in real life Melissa is pregnant. And that's also another reason why she wanted to stop doing the show, because she's going to be a mother as well. So but hopefully she would take time, and maybe come back for a couple episodes. I mean, if they, do a crossover, I would hope there would be a, and that's another thing too with the way they started the season. Every season started this year, and I'm not sure if they're running into the summer, obviously. So I don't know if this is now going to be the new thing for the CW Arrowverse shows. Are they going to be now starting in the new year as well? They're not going to be starting in October. They're going to start like in January or February of the new year, which I personally is kind of weird, but I guess I would be okay with it. Just because, I'm used to it, these shows starting in October, but obviously the pandemic screwed everything up. So we're going to have to get used to some things, some things will change, some things will change, temporarily. Some things will change permanently. This might be a permanent change where, because of the pandemic, they're now going to start these Arrowverse shows in the new year, in February, February of the new year, not in October of the, when most of the shows start. So, but that's neither here nor there. Supergirl has been a great show, and it will be missed. Next is The Flash. The Flash was the original spinoff of Arrow, and boy, has it come a long way. It is actually taken over. It actually taken over from Arrow as being maybe the star of the, and that's not just because Arrow just going off the air. They did it when Arrow was still on the air. It took over being the most popular show, and I think that's because as good as Arrow was and as Arrow started this thing, the Green Arrow, superhero is not as well known as the Flash. We know about the Flash, we know about everything, and it was so good. And listen, that those first couple years was incredible. Those first couple years was incredible. The stuff about Barry's mom and everything like that, and him learning the things, and him learning about this, and him taking on, the Reverse Flash, taking on all of that, and then the second year was really interesting as well, as they took on, I believe it was when the other guy had fooled him, and he took on that speedster. I can't remember. Is it like Dr. Zoom? Yes, Zoom. He took on Zoom and things like that. And then I think that was one. Until I think that might have been the one, right? I believe it was the end of the second season. After he beat Zoom, that's when he went back and he saved his family, I believe. And then that's when the whole Flashpoint started in season 3, I believe. I'm old. I'm 39, so I'm old, so I'm kind of forgetful. But I believe that's what happened, and that was good too. We had the Wally situation. Wally came around, and then he got powers, and then the girl from Earth 2 came over, Jessie Quick, and she got speedster powers, and she couldn't come back because You know, she didn't. I guess she got her show that was on CBS, that God Friended Me show. And then Wally was going around crazy, and he left. You know, here's some people, and then we have had everything else turn around, and once again we've had people leaving this. You know, the guy Rob Dibney, the guy who played Rob Dibney, he had tweets appear from his past where he made some made some controversial comments, I guess, trying to be funny and sometimes like that. And it caused uproar, and of course, so he was let go. So he hasn't been on. They haven't done him, and he's been on the show. They've written him off as being like burnt or something like that. So whatever that is. So he was fired, and then this year Cisco is now leaving, and the other guy is leaving. So, and even though they've added a couple of new ones with Allegra and Chester P. Strunk, still it's still again not what it once was with the Flash. So, but it's still a really, really good show. I will admit these last two, this season has been, again, I think the Flash more than any show, more than any of these shows, are just trying to get through the fucking year. You know, they're just trying to, because the way they left off, the way they left off last year, the Mirror Master story was insane, and then what they're doing this year with the children of Iris and Barry was insane, and now they're bringing Godspeed back apparently. So I'm not sure, but I hope next season they be back. As everything gets back to normal and things like that, they will be back to normal, and they will have a storyline, and they will know how to get to from point A to point B. Like I mentioned before, I have not watched DC's Stargirl. Still have not watched that. I have to try to catch up on that at some point. And this first season of Superman and Lois has been great. I'm loving it. I hope they can keep it up. And I also hope they can continue on from a long way. I think I heard something where they want the Superman and Lois show to take over from the Flash once the Flash decides to go. I think the Flash is doing 10 seasons, and then they're going to be gone. But I think they want to take over from that and have that be the center of their of their TV superhero universe. So and right now it could very well be that, because it's a darn good show. So, and I would like to see that. But let's end this with the show that started it all, Arrow. And Arrow was fantastic. I did not see the first season. I had to catch up like on TNT or something like that. So I did not see the first season. I saw like the last 3 or 4 episodes of the first season or something like that. Or even that. I don't even know if I did that. I don't know. But I do know I saw definitely the last few episodes, because I remember him being keep trying to fight the black the black thing, whatever he was called, and he couldn't overcome him. And then when he finally overcome him and figured out it was Malcolm Merlin, so that was that was interesting. And then of course Tommy died, and Tommy he couldn't understood that. Tommy found out who he was and what he was doing and things like that. So that was very interesting. And it's throughout Arrow, it always was. It always was good. I always hated the flashbacks. I had no idea why they went back so much on the flashbacks. And every year, it just never ended. It was always something else. He got off the island, then he went to China, and then he went back to China, and he went back to the fucking island. And I just. And even then, when they did all of that, and they got to the point to where now it was time for him to come home, it was time for him to come back home. They started doing flash forwards about his child. So that was one thing that really pissed me off. I didn't like the fact that they went too far. That I wasn't okay. The flash forwards, I was okay with that because of course it led to everything that happened that very last season with them going back in time, going back to the past and meeting each other and things like that. So I was cool with that, but the flashbacks were always, to me, it was not good. And again, this was another one where I think the best season was when all of them was together, right? When Laurel, when Diggle, when Oliver, when Speedy, when they were all in their suits, or not? Was it Speedy or would it have been the other one? I can't even think of the name. But when it would have been them, when they were all together, that was good. And then close to the end when he had his proteges, that one was, I think that one was good. We never figured out what happened to the girl. What happened to the girl that turned on him? Who was working with Prometheus? We never really figured out what happened to her. Did she blow up on that island, or I guess so? They never brought her up again. Well, but then Wild Dog was there, and then the guy, the T, Mr. Terrific. He stopped being a part of it. So they had a lot of losses as well. They had some big major losses, and they killed off Laurel, which I think was but that was probably the worst decision on the show, to kill off Laurel. I think they could have killed off somebody else other than Laurel. That could have made Damien Dark. Where they could have done something like that to kind of be better than that. And I'm just not sure what they did for that. I'm not sure what the theory of that was, because then they went to like Earth 2 and they brought in Earth 2 Laurel, and that was just, of course by the end she becomes a good guy, but it just would have worked better off if they just had regular Laurel, right? So to me, I never understood that. But and then they also brought in the other Dinah for the Black Canary. So all in all, it was a great show, and I maybe acting like I was frustrated by some of the things. I really wasn't, because the show was fantastic. I always loved every second of it. I mentioned that I had some problems with the flashbacks, and I also wasn't a big fan of the whole Olicity thing. I wasn't a big fan of that, and it's not because that I wanted them to be true to the story, that it had to be Oliver and Laurel. I just wasn't never a fan of it. I really wasn't. I was never a fan of Olicity. I thought it would have been cool for to have a little them to have a little bit of boingity boingity time, but I think at some point it should have been over, and yeah, it should have been. It maybe should have been Oliver and Laurel. That's how or it didn't even have to be, but I just didn't think it should have been Oliver and Felicity. But overall, Arrow started it, and they finished off in a bang with the Crisis on Infinite X. Loved it. I love the fact that they brought everybody onto one Earth. That was the biggest thing I think to come from that, is that everybody came on one Earth, so that it just made sense. You didn't have to open up a vibe. Vibe didn't have to open up a thing for people to come through, or people didn't have to, it was just fun. But then they go ahead and make Stargirl on Earth 2. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but whatever. But yeah, it's Arrow, the OG of these CW superhero shows, and it's one that I still think today I still would like to see, which was on the air. I really do. Alright, y'all, those are my thoughts on the Arrowverse and what has happened to it. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of the Arrowverse, and in your opinion, what has happened to it. Has it expanded and become better? Do you think that it's less than it was at one time? Do you agree with me that its apex was that Crisis on Earth X crossover, when there was those 4 shows, and those 4 shows were just clicking on all cylinders? Do you feel like it was that it's come down a little bit? The shows that they have now maybe not as good as the original 4 that they had, or even the whatever. Do you miss Arrow? Are you gonna miss Supergirl? Do you watch Batwoman? Let me know all your things down in the comment section. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy AJTRIP signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.